Hello, and welcome back to Writing with Witches, where two witches get together and blabber about writing books for a while. But we decided to change it up this time, and instead of one little mini review at the end of the episode, you get a whole episode of us talking about a book.
Yes.
Specifically, Robert Jordan's Eye of the World, first book of Wheel of Time. So, my name is Leona Urbanski. I'm a debut author with my first novel coming out in April of 2026, and my co-host is...
I am Nicole Autumn. I am the author of the Secret Society series that has 3 books currently published and the final book to come out in January of 2026.
We're all very excited about.
I know. I'm so, it's one of those feelings like I'm ready to be done with the series because I want new projects, but then at the same time, it's bittersweet because you don't want to let it go at the same time. Ugh.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Um, so any book news for you?
Uh, Basically, that revisions are done, and I'm just waiting on a beta reader so I can finish all of the edits and fix any mistakes that I've made.
Awesome. Only thing I have is ARCs opened up mid-November. Still open at this point. Will be open until the end of December. If you want a physical ARC, the sooner you subscribe, the more likely you'll get one, because I'm doing it on a first come, first served basis with a limited number of physical ARCs because I only have so much money to pay for printing those things for you guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all I've got right now. So we want to just jump into it. Do we want to give a summary first?
Uh, do you want to do the summary or I can? It's up to you.
I can.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay. So, Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time series, book one, Eye of the World. This is the first book of a 15-book series that Robert Jordan started in the early 90s, I believe.
I believe it was 1990.
And it was it 1990?
I think so, yeah.
Um, and it follows the story of three. I'm looking up the publication date.
Yep, 1990.
Oh, yeah, 1990. You're right. Okay. It follows. The first part starts following with Rand, one of the characters, and then we also are going to be following other characters as they come through. But the main focus is Rand, and he is living a peaceful, quiet sheep herder life in his village when it all goes to hell, and the Dark Lord returns, and he and two of his friends, Perrin and Matt,
Map. Mm-hmm.
are plucked out of their peaceful little lives by Moraine and Lan and taken on a journey to keep them safe. And Egwene, I don't know,
Egwene.
decides to, Egwene, decides to
Yeah.
come along for the ride. So this is following that journey to a location that is literally called the Eye of the World, which is where the title of the book comes from. And all of their separations and reunions and problems they encounter, the people they encounter. It's a very large world that Mr. Jordan builds, and we get to see quite a bit of it in these adventures, especially once we have the three men slash boys split up in part of the book. So that without like going into minute detail, that's the sum of it. Them facing the Dark Lord at the end and trying to come out on top.
Yeah. Which, if you've never read this book and you do not want spoilers, maybe don't watch, but the book has been out since 1990. So we're going to let the spoilers just come out. And I like how you said these men, boys, they very much, one of our biggest complaints is they are supposed to be 25 years old at the time of this book, and or the time that Robert Jordan is writing this book for them and stuff. They're supposed to be 25, and there are definitely times where they are making decisions and just the way they react to certain situations very immaturely. Like, more so anywhere from 16 to 18-year-old boys. Which, and I understand they have a very sheltered life. They live off in the countryside. They don't have the lived experience as someone who may have lived in a big city or whatever. But at 25, your prefrontal cortex is supposed to be, there. And there's definitely times where you're just like, that was a really dumb choice. Why would you do that? So the maturity levels was definitely not there for 25-year-olds.
I will say it was varying levels of maturity amongst the three boys. I agree
Oh,
entirely.
yeah.
None of them acted like a 25-year-old man at times, but there were definitely stupider decisions than others.
Yes.
Best example, and I'm going to harp on it because you know I will, is Matt picking out that stupid
Stupid
dagger in
dagger.
the cursed city from the ghosts. I'm like, you were an idiot. Like, at least I know Rand and Perrin like followed along with him to try and keep him safe, even though Moraine is like, "Don't wander in the city. You need to just come straight here so that I can keep you safe with my wards." Which, if I was in that situation, I'm like, she's putting up wards, which means there's something bad, which means I should
Outside.
probably stay within the wards.
Yes.
That thought process does not enter their heads whatsoever, and we
Never.
know that because it's all interior monologue.
Yeah. And the fact that they are even like, oh, I want to go explore this deserted city. Like, and they're thinking this, and oh, well, I know Moraine says we should stay here, but I want to look around. It's like, dumb, dumb boys. And the fact that they went with Matt to make sure he doesn't do anything stupid. And then they all do something very stupid and follow some random man who just appears in a dark entryway in a deserted city and is like, oh, he's a treasure hunter. Let's follow him. Like, in what world? That's nuts. And they're like, yeah, there's treasure. Let's follow him. Like, oh my-
The only counter argument I can give to this for them that being a reasonable explanation is if they were in a world with no magic. But
yeah.
they have seen firsthand magic happening in this world. They have encountered the Trollocs. They have encountered is it the Shade they called it?
Yeah, the
The leader
shade.
of the Trollocs?
Mm-hmm.
The Shade. They have seen Moraine fucking sink a ferry boat. They know magic exists and they know that bad things can be made out of magic. Why would you think this is a good thing?
They've
Like
literally
if we were
already
in this
seen.
world,
Yeah. They've already seen her literally
like
pull down lightning.
yes,
What?
I'm just like if you were in this world where there's no magic and you're just searching for a logical explanation and latching onto that, then I could see it, but they're not. They have extensive firsthand experience with this. Ah.
I mean, yeah, but even like realistically, you're just like, you don't follow a man into a dark underground tunnel or down like this. And then when they even, Moraine and Land tell them specifically, don't touch anything. Don't take anything. Don't touch anything. But there's treasure. You dummies. Why? So the dagger decision was ridiculously stupid. And when Moraine even asked, was it Moraine or Lan that asked them, did you grab anything? Did you touch anything? Did he give you anything? And they said, no, there was nothing. Meanwhile, Matt has that damn dagger in his pocket that he grabbed. It was just nuts. Granted, Perrin is probably the most mature out of the three. And he was probably somewhat the voice of reason because even he was like, I don't like this. We should probably leave. And Rand was like, yeah, probably. And Matt's like, but treasure. It's like, come on.
Yeah, I would definitely. Perrin definitely has the most maturity level of the three boys because Rand is just Rand is a himbo. I'm sorry. He just is.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
He just he up until the end, he just literally is following and letting others make his decisions for him and has very little agency. Like, even when it was just him and Matt on the road, he kept going because Moraine told him to meet her in this city. This
Yeah.
wasn't an active decision that he made to continue. It was him clinging to some little bit of guidance and dragging Matt along with him, which admittedly was the best thing they could do in that
Yeah.
situation. But up until the very end, he has no independent decision making that goes well.
Yeah. And the entire thinking of, oh, well, my whole life is ruined. I don't want to be here, but I know I have to leave. Like, this whole tossing back this idea of him having no agency in any of this, like, he is being forced to do this, even though he is willingly listening to everything everyone tells him to do and just does it without question. Like, oh, well, I'm forced. No one's holding a gun to your head, dude. Like, you can make the decision to walk away, to leave. And it literally wasn't until the very end of the book where Rand says, "You know what? I'm bouncing. I'm going somewhere else and I'm not telling anybody where I'm going." And we're like, "Wow, you made a decision. Congratulations. You're a man." But yeah, he does kind of give those like airheaded himbo vibes sometimes. And the part that really cracks me up is when everyone gets kind of separated, when Perrin has to talk to a girl or is getting flirted with, his immediate thought was, oh my God, I wish I was Rand and I could talk to these girls. But then when Rand is talking to Egwene or whatever, or other people, he's like, oh, I wish I was Perrin because he's so good at this. And I'm like, you guys are both saying you guys each other are better at talking to girls. That, and I don't know if you caught that, but I caught that, and I was like, that's weird. Why?
Okay, so I vehemently thought that these guys were like 17, 18, 19 range, probably because of this issue. They're
Yeah,
sitting there worried about talking to girls and they're 25 in a tiny little village where they're already considered grown men.
yeah,
WTF. I'm just and neither of them think that, oh, I wish I could talk to girls like Matt, because Matt actually can talk to girls and get away with it. As stupid
right.
as he is, he can do it.
He he to me, Matt has that bard type charm where he can just go up to people and charm them and talk to them, even though he was under the influence of the dagger and started to get very paranoid. He still was able to talk to people, to sway people, especially when, you know, they were with Tom and they had to start doing like performing for money. He was still like charming the crowds. So it's like, yeah, why wouldn't you want to be more like Matt? He could talk to people. He charms people into doing things he wants them to do, even when he's getting cursed by a dagger in his pocket, which is insane. But I think that kind of also falls in because we're talking about how they don't want to talk to girls, is the romance plot line between him and Egwene was just like non-existent. Honestly, it was always like, oh, not Egwene, not her, but he never actually says anything to her to make her feel like he actually likes her. And I think that's because it's stated from the beginning that they're betrothed to be with each other. But like at times it didn't even seem like they actually liked each other at all.
I think there were more words exchanged between Egwene and Perrin, hell, even Egwene and Moraine, than there were between Rand and Egwene.
Yeah.
Like you saw more of a developing relationship between when she was with Perrin and Elias and when she was with Moraine and Nynaeve than
Nynaeve.
you
Yeah.
ever saw Nynaeve, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Um, Context, I've only read the book, so I'm pronouncing them the way I want in my head. Nicole's
Yeah.
seen the TV series, so she has the correct pronunciation.
Yeah. That's the only reason. If not,
um,
I would not know how to say half these names.
that's fair. But yeah, it's just that there is just like any romantic thoughts that come into their mind whatsoever stay in their head. There is
Yeah.
no affection, there is no her trying to flirt with him. There is like even at the very beginning when they don't know they're going on this adventure and she has her hair braided so that she's eligible to be married now, she confronts him with it. She isn't flirting with him.
Yeah.
She is confronting him and being like, "Are you ready?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
It's very much like I am considered a woman now. So are we going to do this or what? And I think the only affection we ever saw from them was at one point Egwene gets scared and grabs his arm and puts her head on his shoulder. But that's it. And then after, Rand may have said something and it ended with her giving him like a pissy ass look and walking off. Like we saw more of a romance building with Egwene when she was with the people of the Leaf and the I can't remember his name. Aram?
The son of the people they were staying with.
Yeah. She was over there laughing and giggling and flirting and dancing. Are you frozen?
Okay, I froze.
Okay. There we go. Wait. Maybe? There we go.
Yeah, my internet was having a meltdown, I think.
Oh god. That's the last thing we need is more internet meltdowns. Um
Yeah.
So yeah, she ended up being far more flirtatious with him than Rand. And even when Egwene and Perrin are together, she seems to respect Perrin far more than she does Rand. If Perrin told her, "Hey, don't do this," or "Hey," I mean, yes, there was definitely some times where she was just like, "Ugh, mind your business," but she was more likely to listen to Perrin than she ever was Rand, which I find interesting.
Yeah, I agree entirely with what you were saying about her respecting Perrin. And I honestly felt like she flirted with Perrin more than she flirted with Rand.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because, again, I have seen the TV show. So I feel like they picked some of the plot lines from the book and made them a little stronger than others. So in the book, or in the show, at one point, Rand confronts Perrin about having feelings for Egwene and how they're both in love with her, but Perrin wouldn't admit it because for some reason in the show he's married and kills his wife by accident, which is weird. But there is that subtle hint, those little hints sprinkled throughout the book that he may have feelings for Egwene. So I don't know. Honestly, I would be more down with a Perrin Egwene love story than Rand and Egwene. But I think we're also warned that love story isn't going to come to fruition through Min, because she straight up tells you, you guys will not be together the way you think you'll be together. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why the romance between them never seemed like it was going to go anywhere, because he had already planned that they weren't going to be together. So it was kind of a half-assed attempt of a romance, but it's not really there.
Speaking of half-assed attempts at romances that have already been decided are never going anywhere, because the only hint you get of it is in like one of the last chapters. Oh my god, Lan and Nynaeve.
Nynaeve.
Nynaeve. I'm just eventually I'll get it.
Yeah.
That it was
Yeah.
just out of nowhere. Like
It
the
was.
most relationship I saw between those characters was a mentor and student relationship between the two of them. Like Lan teaching what's her name to track and hunt and
Yeah.
hide. Not Lan falling in love with her. There was nothing there. And
Yeah.
all it did in the end was make Moraine doubt Lan because he couldn't make up his mind on who he should protect. And in the end, he just got screwed anyway because he couldn't make up his mind. So that was his own fucking fault. But
Yeah.
man, my respect for Lan went down after that chapter. Like he was
Yeah.
my favorite character right up until then, and then he had that hesitation. I was like,
Yeah.
no.
And that's the thing is, so Nynaeve was able to find them, and I think that's where the romance started, was because she was able to find Lan and Moraine on the road with tracking them, and he was like super impressed by that. But that was, like you said, that could have easily been taken as, oh, he saw that there was a capability within her that he could help her with to become even better. But then, honestly, and it was funny because she read it before I did. And by the time I got to it, I literally just said, oh my effing God, Lan and Nynaeve? Question mark. And she said, oh my God, I know. This is so stupid. Like, we both were irritated as all hell at this because it feels very just shoved in there. Like someone said, hey, you need another romance plot line since we know Nynaeve and Rand, or not Nynaeve, Rand and Egwene aren't going to go anywhere. So let's throw another one in there and see what happens. And they're like, this is a man in the 90s. So his first thought is, let me just have them do this big proclamation of love at a freaking bonfire. But then they know that they can't be together. It's like, what the F? It was so out of nowhere. And I'm like, ew, what?
And we're coming at this also as authors who have written romance.
Yes.
While it's not a primary story thread in my book, it is there, and it is much more obvious than even my like little side character romances. I think Nicole can agree she saw coming before she saw the Lan and the Nynaeve,
Nynaeve.
whatever.
Just
Nynaeve.
say how you want.
Yeah, Nynaeve coming, and like I even only have like just small hints, like the characters are always together when you find them, or they're talking to each other in whispers, or there was none of this. There was no chemistry. There was no, just absolutely nothing. So yeah, Lan and Nynaeve are just out of nowhere. No romance, no chemistry, thrown in at the end because some editor says, hey, we need to appeal to a wider fan base, and that might be women, so maybe throw another romance in there because you've already stated that Rand and Egwene are never going anywhere.
Yeah. Which, it's safe to say that neither of us like Nynaeve at all.
No.
She complained the entire time. And mind you, Nynaeve is older than all of the people. Well, from, oh my gosh, what is it called? Eamon's Field?
Yes.
Yeah, she is the oldest out of all of them. I don't know if they specifically stated her age, but it sounds like she is in her 30s, would be my guess. Like early 30s. I could be wrong, but that's the vibe that they are leaning towards. That she's young, too young to be a wisdom, but old enough that she was old enough to help when Egwene was a child and got sick. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, she's got to be 30s because Egwene is like 23, I think, at this point. The way this woman just complains and is combative at every freaking turn. is just, it irks you. It's like, oh my God. Especially one spot when they're on their way to, oh, what was it? Oh, shoot. What was the name of the town? Now I gotta look it up. They were on the way.
Which one? They went through a few.
I know. The big one. Not Camelin. It was the one after that. Or oh.
Arvalon?
Tarvalon. That's what it was. She keeps telling Nynaeve, we're going to Tarvalon. Anytime they hit any type of roadblock or something else comes up, we told everyone to go to Tarvalon. Well, what are you going to do about that, Aes Sedai? It's like, we're going to Tarvalon. The way she kept saying that one line to Nynaeve over and over again, I'm like, it's like dealing with a toddler. The way she just kept asking the same questions. It was just, oh, I give it up for Moraine and the patience she has, because I would have kicked her into the freaking river and left her, because no one's forcing you to come. No one asked you to be here. You showed up on your own. You can leave.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. Get out of our party. All you're doing is creating conflict where there doesn't need to be conflict, and making them doubt everything that Moraine is telling them. And I get, and this was heavily emphasized, that Moraine, as an Aes Sedai, is not to be trusted, because even though she can't lie, she will tell the truth from her perspective, and only what you need to know, and not everything. That said, she has stated explicitly more than once that she is trying to keep the boys alive.
Yeah. Over and over
because
again.
If they die, then that's very bad for the whole world.
Yeah.
So, like, I get Nynaeve kind of going like, oh, you only care about them because of the fate of the world. Well, yeah, fuck yes.
Yeah. I mean, three guys versus the fate of the world. If I knew that, I'd try and make sure that they were somewhere safe too. Like, hello. So, yeah. She irked us.
Just a little bit.
The only other thing that which I feel like this was more of a complaint from me than from you, because you have that experience of reading 90s fantasy, where this is my first time ever reading this, and it was the tedious world building. I have a very good imagination, so you can give me a few details and I can paint an entire picture in my head. I feel like Robert Jordan was writing this for people who may not have that ability, because he was explaining things down to the rock, to the tree, to the next hill, to the way the trees swayed, or whatever. And I'm like, I can appreciate it to an extent, but when the whole book is just a lot of tedious world building, and there are quite a few exposition dumps where it is just explaining the world, which I know it's probably a thing of the time, but just for an example of how much I first started reading, wasn't tabbing, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm going to need this. Then realized there's a lot of information being dumped on me. I ran out of tabs, and then was like, I give up on tabbing, because this is going to take me twice as long to read. So if you are not into very heavy world building where they are telling you so many details. The other thing with the world building was the constant telling everybody what everyone is, who they are, who they're related to. And I mean, it even got to a point where they were talking about one family, listing everybody, and then also listing their cousins that lived in another town over. And I'm like, I'm unsure why I need to know this information. And like you said, that's normal in that era of fantasy. And for me, I was just like, this is kind of overwhelming. And then with it being in third person, it also was a little bit of a struggle at times. So if you struggle with those things, good luck reading it. It is a little bit harder to read, which is why I am going to be listening to it from here on out.
Like Nicole said, I've been reading the high fantasy since the 90s. And the first time she mentioned that to me, I think was on one of these episodes when we were talking about it. And I was like, I honestly didn't even notice. That's just such a standard use of world building in
Yeah.
the books, especially a book this large. That's honestly, book is what, 700 odd pages?
So I
That's
think
honestly where
700
most of
or
that bulk comes from.
744 or something like that.
Yeah. That's honestly where most of it comes from, is from those big exposition dumps. And my thought process is kind of, while I don't really care for J.R.R. Tolkien, I do understand that he was one of the ones that really, really got the fantasy genre in the popular eye.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, his exposition dumps and world building was tedious even for me.
Yeah.
Like, I had to listen to the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit. I couldn't even read The Hobbit.
Yeah.
So that tells you something, Nicole, I think, about how much you would not like reading those books.
I'm not attempting it.
Um, so Robert Jordan is kind of like the median compared to what we're seeing now, almost 30 years later, close to. Um, in now the books have to be so much sharper, so much better written. I'm not saying this is written badly. I'm just saying that I think the execution could have been better. I think if he gotten pushed a little harder, he could have definitely done that. I don't know personally the history of the publishing of this book. I probably should have looked it up before I'm talking about this, but I am familiar with that era of high fantasy from the 90s decade because I read some of it, a lot of it. And the bulk of the authors in that time period were white men. There were very few women writers. Um, like, I can name a few of
You
them off the top of
froze.
my head. Just the
Oh, there
uh,
we go.
okay, I can name a few of them on top of the head. Just Mercedes Lackey, Anne McCaffrey, Margaret Weiss, um, Kirsten Britton. But those are only four authors. I could probably name easily look up 10 authors of high fantasy from the 90s and they would all be men.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they these so it's gotten better. And to have a reason for this little bit of rant, yes, I'm a feminist. I think we all know this by now. But it was that much harder for women to get their stories in. And I've mentioned this to Nicole before too. The difference in the world building between Eye of the World and Green Rider is vast.
Yeah.
Like, Green Rider is a much faster paced book. It's a shorter book on top of that. It's written so much differently. And I do know the history of Green Rider. She queried with this book for many, many years before it actually got published. I don't know how much Robert Jordan had to query with Eye of the World before it got published. I would put money on it being less than what Christian Britton had to do
Yeah.
because of society. Now, if you want to prove me wrong, prove me wrong. I will accept my defeat in that. And this is not a slam on Robert Jordan. I think he's a great writer. But as a writer myself, I think he could have executed it a little bit better. And I think that would have made it less tedious for people in your situation that cannot handle these large exposition dumps and describing everything down to the tiny rock in the gravel they're walking over, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think also with the amount of exposition they give, it's just what was the word I was looking for? I just feel like he over explained things. And sometimes it gets to the point where it kind of pulls you out of the story. Where if he was to cut some of that, and I'm not going to lie, this is a basic medieval fantasy-esque world. There is nothing particularly unique about it, except maybe the blight, which I have not read anything like that. And I did think that that was interesting, and the Green Man and all that. But the cities itself were basic medieval fantasy. The forest is a forest. So for him to go into all of this detail for basic things like crossing a river and going through the forest and sleeping these nights out, it, I don't know. It just felt like it was overly explaining a basic concept in fantasy, which, if anyone's read fantasy, you've probably read a medieval fantasy style esque book. So it kind of felt like, you know, hammer
Well,
a
and
nail.
I appreciate where you're coming from. I do. One thing I think you do have to remember, though, is you are reading this now versus when
Yeah,
it came out.
true.
Um, this was one of the ones that made these worlds typical.
Yeah,
So this
that makes
one,
sense.
Lord of the Rings, other books. So it's kind of, you have been so exposed to it because it's been out for so
Yeah,
long. This is one of the ones that made it that type.
yeah.
So I
That's
appreciate where you're
fair.
coming from, but it's also, he is kind of the ones that set one of these there are many others. I'm not saying he's the only one
Yeah,
by any means. But he's definitely one of the ones that made a typical medieval fantasy world what it is.
yeah.
So
Still don't think you have to describe the rocks.
no, no, I'm not going to argue with you on that. No, no.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, I
But
think we have
I was just gonna say, now that we've gotten
some
out
dislikes.
our dislikes, we did like it. I gave it a 4-star rating on Goodreads. I really did enjoy the action. There are definitely times it is a more medium paced book, but then there are times where it is just boom, 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 boom. All this stuff is happening and it seems like it's all happening all at once. And it's, them constantly on the go and traveling and looking over their shoulder. So it is very action packed, and it is action packed from the first chapter. Like, first chapter is them literally getting ready for Beltane, and then boom, they get attacked by Trollocs in the night. Like, it's nuts. So it is definitely more action packed, I would say, than like watching the TV show where they encounter Trollocs once, and that was, or maybe twice. Like, it's nuts. The difference and just how much happens and how fast it happens is just crazy. And it is entertaining to read because you're just like, holy shit, man, when are they going to get a break? Holy moly.
No, definitely. I mean, I really don't have anything to add. Honestly, it is he. There is very rarely the slowest pace thing I can think of was when Perrin and Egwene first met Elias, and he hadn't gotten urgent about it yet, and he was just like, okay, yeah, let's just wander
Yeah.
along. Oh, hey, there's People of the Leaf, and it was at the People of the Leaf that Elias went, oh fuck, and started really booking it. But
Yeah.
between that time period, Elias is like, yeah, we'll end up where we end up. Like that's the slowest paced one part that I can think of.
Yeah.
And even they're still moving.
Yeah. And the only other time I would think is like when Matt and Rand were moving. There were certain times where it was just like they were just doing day by day of, okay, we need to find food to survive, we need to find money so we can have a place to stay, or working on a farm to try and earn their keep, essentially. So you do have these downtime moments where you're seeing them just literally trying to survive and not having, a giant ass monster chasing them. Although they are honestly always being chased. Um it it is crazy, the amount of action, the amount of times that they were almost killed because they got a little too trusting of a person, which to me, Matt's paranoia made a lot of sense. Even if he was, freaking cursed, I would be just as paranoid as that kid because, like, what do you mean everywhere we go, someone is literally trying to kill us? everywhere we go. We don't get a moment's break. So, yeah, it's insanely fast paced at times. And it can, if you can't, if you're not into reading those fast paced books, it can feel like a lot to digest at once. Because, again, it could be they get into a town, they finally get something to eat, or they're starting to get something to eat, and next thing you know, someone's trying to kill them. And you're like, holy shit, we just got here. And then they're running away again. So if you're not used
Yeah.
to that type of pace, just beware that that is what's coming at you.
Yeah, it's definitely it can definitely ring you out. And I to me that also helped me push past what we were disliking earlier was those
Yeah.
exposition dumps. Is while there were a lot of descriptions, it was as they were moving and
Yeah.
moving forward. Like there was never a time in the book where they were actively moving backwards, kind of thing.
That, and I think when it comes to the plot itself, the plot is a very interesting concept, right? Yes, it is in that stereotypical medieval fantasy world that I've brought up, but the concept of having these monsters chasing you and trying to defeat the dark one, and that, I know that that phrase has been used a lot since then, but it was completely different than what you would assume, like Voldemort. You know what I mean? Although similar-ish concepts, but the plotline itself was great. I thoroughly enjoyed the story, and I do think that the storyline overall was well thought out. Not the romances; those are, but the storyline itself was great. it it was very entertaining and, again, action packed, which is what you expect in a fantasy novel.
And I think one of the things that helped with this, and this is an author that very meticulously planned out this entire series. And I know that for a fact because that's how Brandon Sanderson was able to pick up and write those last three books and fulfill that part of the series was because Robert Jordan left such extensive notes and outlines. So I've talked about detailed outlines before and how they can really help you stick with the plot for your book. This is one of those examples for sure. Like it was very consistent. It was thought out. He covered most of the plot holes for the actual plot that was happening. Um, yeah, it was just this is definitely one of those examples of a author that planned out this entire series down to all 15 books with a fairly detailed outline. Like I'm assuming that it is consistent through all 15 books, otherwise we would have heard something to the contrary by now.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll find out as we continue reading them. But the feeling that I get is that this is going to be one of the consistent likes for us is that it is, the characters are going to stay consistent. Even if they do make bad decisions, they're consistently going to make bad decisions. The world is going to stay consistent. He's not going to forget things that happened in the last book. Like we left the last book with Matt still technically being cursed. He hasn't been cured of the curse yet.
Yeah.
I assume we're going to be at least seeing that in the next book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's not going to forget Rand's encounter with the princess and the queen, or the Aes Sedai that was in the court. Like all of these plot threads that he's laying down, I think he is going to be wrapping up as we move through the series. So I'm looking forward to seeing how all of these threads weave together and get to the final book and see where all of this ends up.
Yeah. And I know in a previous story or a previous episode, we've talked about how the longer a series gets, the more, oh, what's that word? The more difficult it
Complicated.
gets to write. Huh?
I said complicated.
Yeah, same thing. It gets more complicated to write because you do have all of these little plot lines that you start laying out. And for him to have a 15-book series, and anytime I have mentioned reading Eye of the World to anybody, I have only heard praise. So in my mind, he is laying the groundwork and all these little threads for us to pick up along the way. And for me only to hear praise is that he's going to do something phenomenal with all of this plot work that he's laid out, which it's not, I'm not going to lie, is a little bit harder to find nowadays, of having these plot lines laid out for us to read and none really getting lost in the fray. I'm sure there's probably going to be one or two, but for the most part, again, all I've heard is praise on this book series, that it's one of the best that they've ever read. They love it. You know, they recommend it to anybody who likes fantasy. So I too am really interested to see where this goes, because again, I have seen the show, and granted they are very different. I couldn't leave it where they left it. And I'm like, I need to know what happens. And I will say the book and the show completely different. But I am finding that the plot lines I'm finding in the book, I am enjoying more than what I saw on the show. So it is definitely very well thought out. And the fact that another author could come in and finish this book series, like you said, with those outlines is insane. So you know he planned this out well. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely spent years planning this out. And I really do need to go back and look up the publication history on this thing to see, like, if he was offered so many books contract, or if they had always planned, or if the first book was supposed to be a standalone and then they decided to contract to see. I need to go back and look that up. I will eventually. But I could definitely see, especially in that time period, and I'm 90% certain this is not his only series. I'm pretty sure he already had a bibliography before this. I
I
could be
think so.
wrong. Don't get me wrong. Um, but I I would assume, to be able to stick with a publisher long enough for a 15 book series, that he had already proven his writing elsewhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe this was one of the authors they took a chance on because they saw how well thought out and how well designed it was, and they says, "Hey, I think we can do this." Maybe they
Yeah.
did.
It's
That would
possible.
be awesome for him, even though he's dead.
Um but we bitched about some characters that we didn't like. And now we're going to talk about the ones we did really like. I think we could both agree that we both loved Moraine. I think she was very cool, calm, and collected. And she had this authority and presence, which they do say she has. And they also mention how short she is compared to everyone else. That she is basically this small stature of a woman, but she can command everyone's presence. And it is very obvious in the way she speaks and the way she, like, just holds herself. We just loved her. Like, she honestly does remind me a lot of Brenna. Doesn't have the anger, but they tend to be very calm and collected on the outside, because we don't know what Moraine is thinking on the inside. We have no internal monologue from her point of view at all. So where we sometimes get Perrin, or sometimes get some of Egwene's thoughts or Matt's thoughts, we never get Moraine's. So we really have no idea what is going on in this woman's head. And she is such a mystery. And you're just like, I need to keep reading to figure out what she's up to, especially with that last chapter. You're like, ma'am, what is going on?
Yeah, that's the first real uh insight into her thoughts is in that last chapter. And
Yeah.
I love how he just described the grin on her face, like everything. She knows, she knows what's going on. And yeah, no, Moraine's definitely top of my list, just for, like you said, for the presence. Like,
Yeah.
she will call you out on your shit, and you will have no choice but to admit it, because she knows already. You don't know how she knows, but she
Mm-hmm.
knows.
Oh, yeah. Which is just kind of crazy because, so she is part of the blue Aja, so like the blue Aes Sedais, and they all deal with information. They're like the spies, essentially. So She always has some information on someone somewhere. She just knows. So it's really interesting. The other one that I think we both liked was Perrin. Which I don't understand why they all talk so bad about him. They're all like, oh, well, he's a little slow. And I'm like, no, he's not. The man just isn't vocal. Like, he's not slow. He takes his time to calculate his decisions, and then when he is ready to tell someone, he does. So, he honestly was the most mature out of the boys. And I love the storyline where they went with him being a wolf. What did they call him? Like a wolf born or wolf
I don't
something. A
remember. I
wolf
called him a
man.
wolf speaker in my head.
Yeah. So essentially he has ties to wild wolves somehow. So seeing that storyline develop was interesting, especially once they all came back together and they're noticing like his eyes look different. No one's willing to ask him about it, and he's just like, don't ask me about it with his body language. But yeah. And he seems like such a sweet bean. He seems so nice.
He is. Like, he cares for everybody. Like, he's worried about everybody. It's not just like Rand is mainly just worried about Egwene. You know, Perrin is genuinely concerned for everyone, even the people of the Leaf. When he wasn't happy that she was flirting with the guy, he never really had any ill intent towards the guy. I mean, yeah, he would take out his battle axe occasionally and just like try to be threatening with it, but
Yeah.
no one ever really took him seriously.
If anything, it was like the girls were like, oh, he's got an axe.
Uh-huh.
Like, it was like this foreign. It's like that, the way foreigners have an appeal. You know, when you go to a foreign country, you're like, oh my gosh, he's foreign and hot and all this stuff. That's how he was for them, because they don't fight back. They don't carry weapons. And then you have Perrin, who has a battle axe on his side. And they're just like, oh my gosh, this man's forbidden. Like, they were like hardcore flirting this man up, and all he could do was just blush and watch, because he was just like, I don't know what to do. And it was just the funniest thing. And I'm just like, you know, that man is a good man purely from that scene alone. You're just like, you know, that question that eventually went around is like, the man or the bear? It's Perrin. Like, it's Perrin.
It's Perrin.
Yeah.
I love it.
So he was definitely one of the better characters that we both liked. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, you get a guy that can talk to wolves. He's always going to be first in my book. So that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not? That's such a fucking cool ass thing.
Yeah.
And for me, I really like Tom. I love that he was charismatic and he took care of the boys. And it was purely because they reminded him of his nephew, which came to a very sad end because he could channel the one power. So him basically saying at one point, nope, I want nothing to do with this, and then realized who they were and what they could do. And he goes, okay, now I need to be here because he feels like he has some type of responsibility to make sure that they're safe. Particularly from Moraine, but even I feel like he is more trusting of Moraine individually than he may be with other Aes Sedai. But he is definitely giving those warnings like, don't trust them. Any bargain you make, there is always a cost. And so he is definitely feeding those to the boys, which definitely comes into play eventually. But he also sticks his neck out for them to keep them safe over and over and over again. And I don't know, he just seems like that lovable, charismatic older man that just says some off the wall stuff. But he is also one of the few people that try to convince them, you don't have to do what the Aes Sedai says. You can make your own way. We can go somewhere else. Like, he gives them an out. You know, you don't have to go home, but we can go somewhere else. And I'm willing to take you guys with me. I can train you guys. We can make a living together. Like, he tries to give them that option, which, of course, Rand has no agency for himself in making decisions, and immediately was like, no, we're going to Tar Valon. But he did give them an option. Granted, I don't think I would have taken it either, because I feel like I would have my better chances with Moraine. But, you know, he was always there to constantly try and help, and he was charismatic on the side. So,
I mean, okay, Tom was okay. I have my own issues with Tom. So my number 3 has to be Elias. Just because of the
yeah.
whip thing, just because of how chill this dude was, and just that effortless going, and like the only time you saw him start to get agitated was like towards the very end when they're like climbing up and down the hills with the ravens.
Yeah.
And like, because the rest of that thing, he's just like, we're good. We're all good.
Yep.
We got this. I was so happy he survived, that they gave me that Perrin got the image that Elias did live through that attack. So that made me
Yeah.
very happy. Speaks with wolves. He's chill. I mean, it's an older Perrin, so how can I say no to that?
Pretty much, yeah. Like, he was a really cool, like, chill character. He was very go with the flow. Nothing seemed to bother him. And the way that he even just approached, not even that he approached them, because Perrin and Egwene came up to him and were like hiding, and he's like, are you guys gonna hide out there forever? Like, I knew you guys are following me for, like, you know, several paces back. Are you just gonna come over here? Like, what are you doing? Like, I know you're there. So it was really funny just how he introduced himself to Perrin and Egwene, and they're like, oh shit, apparently we weren't that good at, you know, being quiet.
So, but yeah, I think that kind of sums it up. I mean, yeah, you gave it a 4-star. I gave it a 5-star. I did thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely playing it. I've got the next book here and ready to go.
Yep, I have the audiobook downloaded and ready to go too. So
So,
I think that will be what we're listening to next. Well, as of this episode, because it's going to be coming out. This is a refilm. The next full review you guys will see is Pumpkin Spice Cafe. But we've already filmed that, and now we're going to be reading something else.
since we've already said that it's a refilm, I'm just going to say now, I apologize if my sound quality turns into shit at times. I don't know if it's my computer or the fact that I have the start of a sleet storm going, but my internet has been crackling. So I think we got through it okay, but just in case.
Yeah. Because this, again, we said it was a refilm the last time we filmed. There was no audio on my end, which basically meant Leona was having a full-on conversation with herself. So
Yeah, it was a little weird watching.
I bet you're like, wow, I really do talk to myself. That's awesome.
I know, right?
But we did want to try something new since we did not do a witchy tip. And I do love doing tarot, that we would do a single card tarot pull for the collective. Because I know, like, we just got out of Mercury retrograde. I think Saturn just went direct. So all these, like, planets are just going bananas at the moment. So yeah, I figured let's pull a card and see what happens. Like I said, I do like tarot. It's something I do regularly-ish. I try to do at least once or twice a week. Very fitting. Queen of Swords. This one is
Oh my lord, are you serious?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this has been one that has come up for both of us recently.
Yep.
And which is why we laugh, because both of us have had Queen of Swords come up, and repeatedly in the last couple of weeks. So this is the card of air, but also water. It kind of looks like her, like, it's like her cloak or whatever is being turned into
Cloak, the
water.
robe.
Yeah, robe or whatever is turning into water. Um, so it says while the queen is associated with all four queens, this one is specifically tied to the elements of water and air. And this represents wisdom, independence, intuition, and assertiveness, personal development, and to walk your talk. So this is very much telling you you have had things on your mind and you need to put them into action. You need to stop saying you're going to do things and actually do them. Listening to your gut and just putting it out there. Which
I
yeah.
think this isn't a very appropriate card for Eye of the World because it's Moraine.
Oh, 100%. The blue, yeah, everything. So that was our little tarot reading for you. So that would bring us to the end of our episode. And you can find us at writingwithwitches.com. And you can email us at writingwithwitches@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, and technically TikTok, but I'm taking a break from it because we have been in TikTok jail since the account was created. So we're going to take a little break from TikTok, but we're on all the other platforms as Writing with Witches. Well, TikTok too, but nothing's going up. And we have a Discord server, Writing with Witches. So if you want to talk with us and hang out, we're always there. You can find me as author Nicole Autumn at all the aforementioned places. I do have my website and newsletter link below, as well as my Discord server. Leona. I think I covered everything.
You did. I think you did too. Well done. You're gonna find me primarily on Facebook, Instagram, my website, leonaurbanskiauthor.com, and my Substack, leonaurbanskiauthor.substack.com. I have been sending out newsletters on a regular basis because I'm still getting that sweet, sweet concept art from Alex.
Oh, yeah.
So go follow me there. ARC applications are, again, I'm just going to say it one more time, are open till the end of December. So please go sign up to get an ARC of Fire Magic because I want to know what you all think. So that's all I got.
All right. So the preview for next week will be short story creations and fine tuning. So that'll be interesting because we've had a lot of experience doing short stories lately. So that's going to be a fun episode. So thank you all for watching and or listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.